start, I want to value your time. I know that this is a really hard time of year to start talking about next year already, but I really appreciate you coming in, and as do the other teachers of Catalyst. So why you're here is we want to talk to you about some of the things that you need to start thinking about for August. And at this time, it's not a heavy lift, but it's definitely things that you should start pondering and you should start thinking about so that you're prepared to start class in August 2022. This is just a list of some of the teachers that are going to be involved in Catalyst next year. I'm Miss Norman, Jennifer Norman. Standing here to my left is Mr. Williams, and then standing to his left is Mrs. Quark. And so we're going to just be three of the names that are here. You might see other people trickle in that want to speak to you, just again, to start your thinking about what this class is, okay? So I'm going to invite Mr. Williams to come up here and just kind of give us an overview. This is being recorded, so that you're going to see us pass a microphone back and forth, okay?
Hi there, welcome. Super quick, I'm not going to talk through this diagram in detail, but the basic thing with Catalyst, as you know, it's a graduation requirement. You're all juniors, which I think is I think it's the best time to take it, I really do, in this year. And really what Catalyst is about is you selecting a goal and projects of your own, independent projects of your own. And we're going to sort of give you some guidelines for actually the way in which we do that. Our role as teachers here in this is very different to other classes that you've been. You get really a tremendous amount of independence. And that independence for many of you is going to be liberating. For others of you, it's going to be quite frightening because you won't necessarily have teachers there saying, developing your own timelines. Okay, you're going to be involved in that. So one of the biggest challenges you're going to find is the amount of freedom you get and how you start to use that.
So, as Ms. Norman said, my name is Ms. Clark. Next year will actually be my first year working as part of the Catalyst team, so I will be learning with you. One thing that we want to stress to you, and Mr. Williams kind of started talking about this, is choosing your project and choosing your topic. We want you to pick something that you're passionate about, because if you're really passionate about something and you care about it, that's something that's important, something beyond you. What we're not going for is for your final product to be perfect. This is really more about the process of learning. Of course, we want your final product to be something that you're proud of, but really, in the past, when students have tried to pick something and try to make something perfect, what happens is they don't take something that pushes them. They're not picking something that's a risk. And so we want you to pick something that is doable, but also going to push you a little bit and help you really learn and grow. So the final product does not have to be perfect, it's really about the process.
Okay, so I want to build on that, this not perfect idea, and so there's a book that we have used that has really framed this class. And so over the summer, you're going to see on some of the next steps, we're going to invite you to maybe thumb through this book, get a copy of it, email me, J. Norman, I can give you a PDF copy. But really, this is a framework of how you start selecting what you want your project to look like, or your project idea. And so these are the three pillars you're going to constantly hear us say next year. Your project needs to be thrilling, it needs to be daunting, and it needs to be important. So by thrilling, that means you need to get excited about it. This needs to be something that you're passionate about. And when you have something that's exciting and that you're passionate about, it no longer becomes work. Right? The second one is it needs to be daunting. This can't be something that you already know how to do. So that previous slide about growth, that's where growth comes from. That's where learning comes from, is actually choosing something that you don't necessarily know how to do. And so there needs to be that learning edge. Okay? You need to be able to push yourself. And the last thing is important. it really needs to be bigger than you are. Okay, it needs to be something that where you can step back and say, I'm going to give more to the world than I'm actually going to take. Right? So it needs to be thrilling, daunting, and important. And so we frame our projects around these three concepts. Okay? I'm going to pass this back to you, so why we need mentors.
Yeah. And I actually, we didn't necessarily plan this, but grades always come up to it. So, you know, if I think about this year and I think about the best projects that we had, you know, our A+ projects, two of those out of the classes I had, two of those never actually got to finish their final project, right? But it was still A+. The process they went through, the learning they took, they didn't have this perfect polished presentation product at the end that they could say, hey, this is my project. It just didn't work out for them for different reasons, right? So do bear that in mind. You know, you don't have to have this nice shiny thing at the end to get exemplary. Another important thing we just want to mention is the importance of mentors in the program here. And I've got no doubt that every single one of you can do an A+ project without the help of any adults. We know that. This is SAS. But bringing adults into your project, whatever form, that may be teachers, it may be a mentor from outside the school, whatever form that takes, we've found that it will push you, the depth of your project, the scope of your project, it will take it in ways that you've never ever dreamed of doing. Okay, so the mentor part of it, and again, don't worry too much about it at the moment, but the mentor part of it is really an attempt to sort of push you out of your comfort zone, okay? And push your project in directions that you really would never have thought about.
All right, and so what this is about is this semester's students, and these are their reflections on their project. And so we're going to go ahead and play this video for you just so that you can understand some of the process that they went through. Okay? Let's make sure.
My project was taking a look at whether language is indicative of mental health. So in other words, could you go online on social media and take comments that people post, take the language that they use in those comments and manipulate it, quantify it to determine if they are depressed or not.
Designing a comic, so this would mean I would draw all my characters, draw all the scenes, and also write the narration for my comic.
And that is what my MVP was, a basic chat interface for students to the message and text each other.
I focused on two aspects of music therapy, which is art therapy and symbol therapy. It is based on interior design. And the role of the interior designer is to create and design a space aesthetically pleasing to somebody else.
My project was working with stroke rehabilitation from a company that I did an internship with 2 summers ago. And
my Catalyst project was about analyzing media and LGBT representation in media and how has it influenced the LGBT community and how it can do harm or how it can do good for the LGBT community.
A project about national service in Singapore, and it's a website, information-based website, which highlights important facts about national service and what people need to know about national service.
And my project was to create a poetry book based on mental health illnesses. And so I wrote about 44 pages worth of poems and facts. And my end product was a book.
The project was an app for judgment score. It's called Judgment Score, and it was just an app to score a card game with a standard deck of cards.
When it came to my mentor, I actually had 4 mentors, but focusing specifically on the SAS one, Ms. Susie Kim. One thing that she helped me do that was really important was coming up with a time frame of how I'm going to get this project done. Because this was conducting my own research, I conducted my own research, performed my own analysis, and wrote my research paper.
How to approach the project, the entire project planning aspect of it. How to actually, break it down so that it's much easier for me to tackle in the time frame that we get of 4 months.
How could, like the questions I could ask my clients before actually designing the space. And
We discussed about how she could help me along the process and give me the little push I need to get me along through the process more smoothly.
And she helped me read over my poems and give me the feedback on stuff that I can improve.
Basically, I talked to him about bi-weekly about what I was doing, what I had done so far, and all the questions I had for him and my future process. So essentially, we talked about my plan for the UI, my UI itself, my interview questions, my app, where I was with my app, how far along I was, what struggles I had, and we constantly kept planning things out for the future. And we also kept talking about my process and how I was doing.
she also helped come up with ideas like a survey, which that really helped about learning about. She also helped guide me through analyzing research.
The added value of working with her was, well, just being able to organize all this into a nicely fit schedule was, well, that was a lot of value added.
The added value of working with a mentor is just that I got introduced to other different complexities of the project that I did not recognize when I was first doing it. My mentor was Mr. Polly, who actually helped me, who's actually one of the head of the APAC at Google, and she actually helped me understand the different complexities and the different nuances there are to building an app, how it is such a large process that it can be simplified by breaking down into parts.
They make you think differently about your project and how you can make it better. And just having the support really is welcoming and helps.
Talking to him about my ideas, talking to him about the progress that I've made, and keeping me on track. I also worked with someone outside of school as kind of an informal mentor figure, and I would discuss with him the content I was putting into videos.
We talked about how we can create the video with the scripting. If I had set up more meetings with her with this idea, I feel like she definitely could have helped me more.
The value with working with my mentor is she was actually kind of good at just reading myself and making me go further with my writing.
He actually had a lot of value because his job was to do exactly how he was helping me. It was basically how the UI connects to the users and how the UI can be made better for the purpose of the app. And he really helped me a lot just because he had a lot of experience and he had a lot of co-workers working on apps currently. So he actually referred me to a database that I'm using right now and made my life significantly easier. He also made my UI a lot cleaner and a lot better for the users just because it was more condensed and there was less information on the screen for the users to constantly switch between. He also helped me a lot with my planning and inspiration from other apps because he made me go out and look for other apps that did similar things, and that way I could actually make my app better because I took inspiration from them.
Miss Susie Kim, my mentor, she added value to my work as she could help me come up with ideas for things.
Well, she spent my thinking in understanding what it takes, the amount of planning that needs to be done in order to come up with a good research paper by a certain time frame. And so she expanded my thinking in that way by helping me realize that this is what I need to do before taking on any research project.
She asked me various questions, some of which I didn't actually know the answer on, but it made me critically think about our project and made me understand our project further. And for that, I'm incredibly grateful for her help.
And I think that's the same thing with her expanding my thinking. She helped me visualize more, and I very appreciate that.
Another way my mentor helped me expand my thinking was she read through my article and gave me some advice as to what I could change to make it look nicer. Just some changing off some different words, phrases.
More things I could add to my website to make it more valuable, about more benefits or types of therapy within her perceivable therapy.
And he actually explained my thing a lot because he was constantly asking me questions about my project. Instead of just giving me answers, he kept questioning why I did what I did, how I was going to move on. And he kept asking me these kind of questions just because it helped me expand my thinking and it helped me make my project what it is today, just because I couldn't have done any of the thinking without the questions he asked me. I couldn't have possibly come up with a more condensed UI if he didn't ask me if I could move that from the nameplate from the bottom to the top, or condense the way I was writing my scoring, or change the way my leaderboard looked, and actually helped a lot all in all.
And for me, working with my mentor was actually really helpful because there were so many moving parts to my project and I kept changing, and I do have issues with procrastination and maintaining focus. I found that my mentor, Ms. Susie Kim, was very, very helpful in making sure I stay on direction and stay on track. And I thought that in the end, those calls made sure that I had something to show for her every week that we did call, and it also made me keep myself on track as well. So overall, I thought that the mentorship was really helpful and really special.
Thank you for watching that with us. I hope that kind of gave you an insight as to the types of projects that kids have done in the past, as well as what we call learning edges, which means we're not looking for perfection, and I think you saw several people talking about the fact that their projects were not perfect. We're actually talking about the learning process, and so that's what they were reflecting on. So as you're going through this, always keep that in mind. We do have people that use the makerspace. So if you're not familiar where our makerspace is at this moment, it's right behind us. And the person that would be in charge of that room is Miss Simone, but also James Harvey, Mr. James Harvey. And so if there's a project that you're thinking about, when we talk to you in August, we're going to talk to you about creating that plan so that you get on his schedule and make sure that he is one of your mentors. And that's going to be really important in terms of his time frame and what projects he can take on at the time as well. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I just, some of the maker projects that we had this year successful. We had a young lady who made some rings, a lot of different rings. We had someone who made
we had a robot.
We had a kit for printing brown. It was like a brown printing kit. And honestly, they all started off with no knowledge of those areas, and and it was only really because of our encouragement that they carried on with those, because they didn't have a clue where this was going to go.
Right. So next steps, and I know that's not our bell to go, but here's some next steps. We want you to start thinking about your topic ideas. That's all we want you to do over the summer. Just start thinking about it. You don't have to write anything down. You don't have to talk to anybody about it. Just start thinking about it. But when you come back in August, you really should come back with about 4 to 5 ideas. All right? We're going to post this video. It'll go out into the e-news, and we'll make sure that you get a copy of it so that you can see this video again and some of the topic ideas. But really just start thinking about it. Here's the other thing you can do. The name of that book was called How to Begin, and the author was Michael Stanier. Again, if you want a copy of it, what's interesting for me about the book is the book actually starts on the front cover. All right, you don't have to flip it open. He actually starts the book on the front cover, and that's the theme. It's like you can start anywhere. And that's his theme that he constantly runs through his book with. So if you want to leaf through that this summer, by all means do. It's not a requirement. But a good place to start is to start thinking about the clubs that you're involved with. Start thinking about those and what are they missing? How can you make that club better? That's a really great place to start with your first idea of what you need to walk in here with, because you can always make your own personal clubs better. And we had several projects that started that way, that they started thinking about the clubs they were involved in. They also went out and stepped out of their comfort zone and started thinking about clubs that they weren't involved with. Because you have an outside perspective of how you can make that better. Okay? So that's all we have for you. We want to open it up for questions that you may have at this moment. We'll just hold space for that.
And please, anything that you've got in your head, if you've got a question, someone else in the room would also have the same question.
Okay, I think that's the appropriate amount of awkward silence. So, what we'll do is we will stay behind in case you want a one-on-one question. But otherwise, we really appreciate your time, and we hope you have a fabulous summer. We really look forward to seeing you in August, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.